Hello everybody, welcome to Enchanted Evening. My name is Kayla and today we're going to be doing an older Disney movie, which happens to be Disney's Alice in Wonderland. It was released July 26, 1951 and it runs for 1 hour and 18 minutes. It is a family fantasy animated action adventure film. This is the 13th Disney movie that was released. Music by Oliver Wallace, produced by Walt Disney and the Walt Disney Production Company, of course. And their budget for the movie was $3 million. As always, let's jump into a couple of fun facts. The film was considered a disappointment on its initial release date. This made Walt Disney to put the movie on television on his first episodes of his TV series Disneyland. On TV, it proved to be very successful. It was eventually re-released in theaters, and it became even more successful when they began to sell merchandise as well as a video set for this movie. Walt Disney was familiar with Lewis Carroll's Alice books, Alice Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. He read them as a schoolboy, which is why he was inspired to make this one of his movies. Catherine Beaumont, the voice of Alice, is also a voice of Wendy in Disney's Peter Pan. The Mad Hatter is inspired by the actor who voices him, and it was almost a live action film. The film does not open with an image of a storybook, which the other previous Disney movies did, and there was over 30 songs that was planned for the movie, but they never ended up using it for the film. Quick summary for you. Alice, a restless young British girl, falls down a rabbit hole and she enters a magical world where she encounters all sorts of characters, including the grinning Cheshire Cat, the goofy Mad Hatter, and the Queen of Hearts. She must stay on the Queen's ruler's good side so she doesn't risk losing her head. Okay, to go ahead and get started with this movie, the movie begins just like any other old Disney movie would. You have to listen to the Disney introductions with the opening credits, and they do have like pictures drawn out when you do first watch this one. I don't know if it kind of like draws you more into the story. Me, it was just kind of like, okay, I've seen it, done it, watched it before with the opening credits. So I don't really have much of a feel for that. But then as the movie enters, it's a beautiful garden where I don't know, I thought she was Alice's sister in the past, like her older sister, but I could be wrong. But an older, really put together British girl is reading Alice a story, and Alice is not paying attention at all. She is a bum, 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 bum. She's like looking at this over here, looking at this over there. She cannot concentrate on this book, and then she later says, well, how am I supposed to concentrate on a book when there's no pictures in it? One thing that I do have to say is Alice's cat Dinah is so cute. Disney definitely knows how to make little baby animals super cute. So I do love it. Alice sings a song. I wouldn't call it anything to, talk about. It's a nice, sweet little ballad that she sings about in her world. This is how things would be, and things would be different. It's funny because like it's not a song that I would normally sing in my shower, but it's also not the worst. When the movie was playing, I was kind of singing along with it, so it must be something that stuck with me. Anyways, all of a sudden we see a white rabbit wearing a waistcoat and a watch, and he's running late. That's all the rabbit says. I'm late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late. That's the rabbit. Alice, of course, has to go follow this rabbit down the rabbit hole. And that leads to a mass of problems for Alice. So she goes down this hole, and it's like everything's topsy-turvy, I want to say. Things are upside down. It's just not normal. And so I think that's kind of the introduction as to what you as a viewer is about to experience on this movie. Everything is more curiouser and curiouser. I said that really terrible, but that's my Alice voice. So Alice, once she finally gets to the end of the hole, because it's not a bottomless hole, there's a little door with a knob, and the doorknob is talking. The doorknob's a little obnoxious, kind of just like almost a lot of things in this movie. But I do like the doorknob because it's like a classic thing that you see on Disney, I guess I want to say. Like, if I could build my own house, I would build this doorknob to be on my front door because it's just a classic Disney. Like, I don't know how this movie became such a classic, but because it is, I want everything that there is. Like, I want a teacup from this movie. I want the doorknob. I don't know. It's just really weird. It's the whole inspiration behind this movie and why people love it. I'm still trying to wrap my head around. But then why do I want an Alice in Wonderland teacup or a speaking doorknob on my door for my dream house? I don't know. It's weird. It's super weird. But like I said, this doorknob is a little rude. He keeps laughing at Alice. And Alice, all she wants to do is get through the doorknob. And she starts to cry and cry. And her tears become an ocean. And at this point, Alice is like really tall and really big. But then as she cries and cries, like I said, her tears are an ocean, but then she drinks something and it makes her become really small. And then she falls into this little glass bottle, and then she's floating in her tears of ocean. Like, this is the movie. I'm like literally probably sound like I'm so crazy right now, but this is the movie. It is crazy. When she's in the ocean, she ends up falling out of her little glass bottle, and nothing on her is wet. Her hair is not wet. Her clothes aren't wet. I don't know if this was meant to be on purpose, like, because it is, this crazy world. So if you jump in water, you don't get wet, or if it was just the animators forgetting to draw her hair wet. But it's Disney, so I really can't see that. I want to say it was on purpose. I mean, I hope it was on purpose. But nothing in this movie makes sense at all. It's all about imagination. If you don't have 1 ounce of imagination in your brain, you're not going to understand this movie at all. Even if you have imagination, this movie's going to be hard to follow because nothing makes sense. And that's the whole point of the movie. The whole point is that nothing makes sense. And it's funny because as a kid when I watched it, like, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Because maybe as a kid, you have more imagination. So when you see a fish just like walking around, on the sand, I guess that makes sense. So I don't know. Anyways, Alice, of course, wants to keep following this rabbit. That's her whole drive through this whole movie. Well, maybe at least to the middle of the movie when she's kind of over the rabbit. But anyways, we're still at the beginning. She's following the rabbit, chasing the rabbit. So, okay. So this point, we run into Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They're these 2 fat twins, and at first when I'm watching them, I'm like, good Lord, I cannot be their friends because they're kind of obnoxious. But then I kind of changed my mind a little bit because they can tell pretty good stories. They tell a story about oysters, and it's a compelling story. We're cabbages and kings. I don't know what that means, but in that oyster story, that's what they talk about. Cabbages and kings. Bizarre, right? So if anybody knows what that means, please let me know. The story that the Tweedledee and Tweedledum tell Alice is actually a good life lesson if you think about it, because it's telling you not to trust strangers. So that's what this little story is kind of all about, because these, strangers come up to these baby oysters and they convince them to follow them, and then it's a trap and they eat the oysters. So don't trust strangers, or be wary of strangers is the lesson of this story. Another cool thing about when they do the oyster story is, like, if you split the screen in half, like one side is the day and the other side is night. And I don't know, for some reason I like that. And there's a point where 2 characters are like chasing each other, but they're going like through day, through night, through day, through night. entertained me, so it must have worked a little bit. Okay, so we get to another part in Alice. Okay, so Alice is like in this little, I don't know, she's small again. So she's in a garden with flowers, and instead of butterflies, it's bread flies, because the bugs, they look like butterflies, but their wings are bread. So, I mean, okay, butter, bread. I don't know, it's kind of funny. It's kind of catchy. But then the flowers sing the golden afternoon. This part of the movie, it kind of reminded me of like when Disney did his first like animation on his shorts. Just how like the picture was and how the characters were. So I did appreciate that because it was really old school Disney, and I like that. I enjoy seeing that. But what I didn't enjoy seeing were how mean those flowers are to Alice. They are very rude to her because they find out that Alice is not a flower, that she's a weed. So they kick her out. I hate to say it, but these flowers are a little racist. Anyways, moving on, we get to a different area of this little forest where Alice runs into a caterpillar. Caterpillar smoking something. Okay, I don't know what it is, but he seems to be pretty chill. Anyways, he acts chill because we find out he does have a little bit of a temper. Also, I noticed when I was getting to this part of the movie, I do like how much of the soundtrack that they use. Like everything a character would do, if they like move their arm or fall off something, it was a do-do-do-do, do-do-do, bloop-bloop. Every action had some music behind it. And I really love that because you don't see that in kids' cartoons or movies nowadays. So that was something that I thought was, okay, this is also pretty classic, just hearing the music in the background. So that was something I really liked. Alice at this point is growing from tall to small to tall to small constantly throughout this movie. I'm wondering if that's going to have any effects on her. I mean, you would think that if your brain keeps expanding, then I don't know, she seems fine, or maybe she's not fine. Anyways, but then you see another creature where it's like this bird in her nest, and she's mean to Alice too. You guys, the residents of Alice's in Wonderland, they're not the kindest. Let's just say that. We run into the Cheshire Cat. We ran into him a couple times. So with this movie, it's like different portions, you keep running into different characters. So it's like Alice meets this character and has interaction. Then she meets this character and then that character. That's kind of what the trail of the movie is going with. Cheshire Cat, though, you do see him a couple times. I found out that he is my favorite character in this movie, which really shocked me because he never really gives you the answer that you're looking for. You know, Alice asks for directions and he's like, well, where are you going? And she's like, well, it doesn't matter. He's like, well, then if it doesn't matter, then you can go anyway. And it really is true if you think about it. Like, if it doesn't matter where you're going, why do you need directions? Because I think he has a point. And he also says, well, everybody is mad here. You can follow the Mad Hatter. You can follow the Mad blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. He was intriguing me just how he was talking because he's a little mad himself. Everybody's a little mad in this world. And then we get to the tea party. Oh my goodness. Happy birthday, everybody. Tea party, it is a little crazy because how could it not be? You have a really long table. The table's never ending with all different tea party accessories that you would need. You have, you know, cakes and cookies, tea and sugar, cream and milk. You know, Alice in her world in the Mad Hatter, they love tea. Tea time every day. I myself am not a big tea drinker. This has nothing to do with the movie. I don't really know why I'm saying it. I like cold tea, not hot tea. I don't know, that was dumb. Anyways, there was a couple of clever things that happened during the tea party. I like when the Mad Hatter was pouring like a glass of tea. I'm sorry, this is like me pouring my tea, like kettle. And he's pouring the tea and it's like going down his collar into his sleeve and into the cup. I don't know. I just thought that was clever. Like, who comes up with this? Like, pour my tea in my cup. I don't know. That to me was clever. Also, when the little mouse says, I'll just have half a cup. And then they cut the cup in half. And then now he's a half a cup of tea. Half a cup of tea. It's clever. It really honestly is. And as a kid, I always did like watching the tea party aspect because to me it seemed elegant, but of course there really is no elegance that's going on with this tea party. For those of you who've been to Disney World, do you ride the teacup ride at Disney World? I don't because I don't like spinny rides, but maybe that's the whole point of it. So you spin and spin and spin, and then finally you get tossed into Alice's world and you're like, oh, well, okay, this makes sense now. Because you're dizzy? I don't know. Anyways, why is a raven like a writing desk? They never give us the answer. We'll never know. Alice continues to follow the rabbit, which is what gets her away from the elegant tea party. The happy birthday. When she gets to the rabbit's house, I still don't really understand what was going on at this point. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention. I mean, I was trying to. But again, it doesn't make any sense. Allison realizes that, you know, everything is nonsense here. And she's done with the nonsense. And she says it too. She says, no more nonsense. Because that's what this whole world is. When Alice, though, is in the rabbit's house, there's like little cookies in his house. And it says, eat me. And she does. And then again, she blows up really big. Maybe that's another lesson to say, well, don't just walk into somebody's house uninvited. Don't just start eating their food uninvited because bad things can happen. So I think, like, I'm not sure if there's like a moral to the story, but in the movie, there's like a couple little lessons. And I think that's what you're trying to gather, or at least that's what I got from it. I did think like all the chorus, we're just going to call them chorus characters in the background were really creative. Like you have birds that are umbrellas, so like half bird, half umbrella under a waterfall. You have duck shovels, so these ducks are like shoveling, but their whole beaks are shovels. You have a bird that's a cage, so bird cage. It's literally a bird, but his stomach is a cage. It has other birds inside his cage. You have a dog that's a broom, so he's like brooming, but he's a dog. Legit, this is not me just saying random stuff. This is what's in the movie. I did think it was creative, I guess. Okay, so Alice says that she always gives herself good advice, but she never follows it. This is another little song she's singing. She's sitting on a rock and crying at this point. I want to know what good advice she's given herself because so far, I don't see it. Like, I've never once heard her say, I've given myself good advice, or this is good advice. She believes she does, but I'm still at a loss. Like, Alice, what good advice is that you have for yourself? I'm not seeing it. And then finally we get to introduce to the villain of this movie, which is the Queen of Hearts. My boyfriend, when we were watching this together, yes, I made him watch this with me. He says, wow, I think it's a little late to bring the villain in. He's right. There was like, I don't know, 10 minutes left on the movie and we're finally bringing in the villain of the story. So it was a little bit late. We learned that she loves the color red because her knights, which is a deck of cards, I know, right, is painting the roses red. Paint the roses red. Paint the roses red. They have to paint the roses red. And we do find out later if they don't paint the roses red, then she's going to cut off their heads. Maybe she likes everything to be red because maybe she's like sadistic and likes the color of blood. Shoot, at this point, I don't even know. I don't know. Okay, so the cards can't be too miserable working for her because they all walk in like with marching, but they seem like really happy, like whistling. So they can't be too miserable, but if I worked for somebody, if I didn't paint the rose red or miss a spot or what have you, I'd be pretty terrified. I don't think I'd be super happy working for them, but then we finally meet her. And she ain't pretty, okay? Not like the evil queen. She has a big round face and like a pig nose. She's, to me, I I really don't even think about her much when I think about Disney villains. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I kind of just push this movie in the back of my mind. With that being said, she has probably one of the best Disney villain quotes of all time, which is, "Off with their heads." Pretty terrifying, right? And she delivers. So I do have to say that. Oh, okay, so at this point, the Queen of Hearts challenges Alice to a game of croquet, which it makes me sad that they use animals as their playing tools. It's like a flamingo that they're using, and I don't know croquet, so sorry if I say this wrong, but it's like their little stick to hit the ball. I know there's other words for it, but it's like a flamingo, and it's like a little baby porcupine that's rolled up in a ball, and he's like being hit. It's, this world is not kind. I do want to say that. The Cheshire Cat comes back, and he's just, I think he just loves drama, and he loves the trouble, because at one moment you think that he's on Alice's side when it comes to the Queen, because he tries to help Alice, but then it almost switches because he then does something kind of rude to Alice that makes it beneficial for the Queen. So I don't think he's on anybody's side. I think he's just kind of there, which makes sense. He's here. Or is he there? Or we don't know. That's the whole point. It's just anywhere. That's this movie. But I did like the Cheshire Cat. I will say that. Side note, I put that here. I would not suggest watching this movie if you have a headache. Okay? Anyways. Okay, I said the jam, let me have it. Laugh out loud. I don't know what I meant by that, but that must have been funny. Okay, as Alice is running from the Queen, we get a recap of the movie, and then we find out that this whole time Alice has been dreaming. Ugh, the classic dream story. But that had been such a relief, right? I mean, have you ever had a terrible dream, and then you wake up from that dream, you're like, oh, thank God I was dreaming. I'm pretty sure Alice probably felt this way. So you guys, that was Disney's Alice in Wonderland. Okay, I don't have any more notes, so this just me talking from the top of my head. The movie is, yes, it's crazy. It's a lot of imagination. I would say if you want to just watch something completely off the rails, if you're having a fun night with your friends, then to definitely watch this movie, because it's going to give you a lot of like, what the heck? It will be funny. It'd be fun to watch. My sister is also trying to go through and watch Disney movies as well. And I think she said that this one she couldn't get through. I did get through it. She says that it makes no sense, that it's all nonsense. And that is the whole point of the movie. After watching it, that's literally the whole point, is that it doesn't make sense. It's all nonsense. Am I going to watch this movie anytime soon? Probably not. Will I watch it again? Yeah. Will I introduce it to my kids? Of course, it's a Disney classic. I don't understand quite why so many people are so obsessed with it. Like when you see, Alice paraphernalia at Disney World, even though I did tell you earlier in this movie I want a teacup, which I do, because I'm sorry, but how fun would it be to drink out of a teacup from this movie? Topsy-turvy, right? And I'm not doing the right British accent for this point of England where Alice is from. But it's okay. It's okay. It's very creative. I appreciate that. It's very colorful. This was a movie that was inspired by books, so I do like that as well. Again, it's not my favorite, but it is a Disney classic, and Alice is always going to be part of Disney World. So if you want to watch a fun, crazy movie that's off the rails, pop in Disney's Alice in Wonderland. You won't be disappointed. And if you want something crazy, if you want something straight and narrow, don't watch it. But everybody, I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and I hope you also watch Alice in Wonderland. And as always, you guys have an enchanted evening. Thank you so much.